Hey guys, Dodeka here. I didn't have anything to record today because I've been working on another little animation thing. As all you could see, I posted up a short animation that was only 6 seconds, and I'm like, I kind of want to do that again. It was fun. And because of that, I didn't have anything to record. So I was looking through my papers and whatnot that I've written down for ideas, and I found apparently I found some vivid dreams that I had written down. So I was like, you know what? I'll read that off. I mean, everyone has vivid dreams, and they're pretty interesting and hilarious, and sometimes very, very, very terrifying. So I'd like to just read off mine. And the first one I'm going to read off, or the first few ones, are pretty innocent and weird. And the first one is about a tour bus that I was on. I was with my dog and my mom's dog, Chi Chi. Now, another thing about this bus was I was the only one on it. There wasn't even a driver. After after a while, I was going through a forest next to a stream. There were a few passing people, and all that stuff. Now I was just enjoying the view, and it was amazing. It was beautiful. When we were passing a stream, I saw a deer, and a little ways down the stream was a black bear. And I was like, cool. I was just enjoying it. I was so relaxed that I could have fallen asleep in the car. Van. It was a van or bus. I'm not exactly sure. It was a vehicle that had more than 6 chairs, so I'm guessing it was a bus. So I'm continuing to keep going through this and just looking at the scenery when the bus goes onto a dock and parks, I don't know why it did that. I guess to just even look at more of the view. There was a brown bear not too far away from the bus. After, 10 minutes, and Dreamtime was like 6 seconds, but it was probably 10 mostly. It felt like 2 seconds, but it was more like, it's supposed to be like 10 seconds, not 10 minutes. I'm not exactly sure. Dreams are weird. So, the bus is backing up and turning around and going more outward. This brown bear decides to go after the bus, and it's attacking the door. Here's the thing. It is bear proof. This bear cannot get into it. It cannot open the door. It cannot attack it. I don't know why. The bear couldn't get into it. So I was just like, okay. I was all fine with it. I wasn't scared at all. It was hilarious. But this scenery was the most amazing part about it. I didn't want to wake up from it because it was beautiful, breathtaking. And I wish I could share it to all of you, but I am not that good at creating something like that. And I can't wait till I am. Now, the second one that I'm going to mention is innocent, but at the time was terrifying for me. Now, to explain to you all, I have a fan that I have in my room that I sleep on with at night. Now, I do it because it reminds me of a car. The sound of it, I guess. It's kind of hard to explain. Just the fan reminds me of a car, being in a car, so it helps me sleep. That's also probably why I had that dream about the van. Now, every morning when I wake up, I turn the fan off. Now, this morning, I tried turning the fan off. I switched the switch back and forth to on and off. Hang on. I had the burp. Sorry. But, it wouldn't turn off. It, for the life of me, would not turn off. I was a little irritated. I was like, okay, forget it. I'm going back to bed. So I go back to bed. Probably what would seem like hours. I'm not exactly sure. I woke up again. And, well, I tried turning the fan off. It didn't turn off. Again. So I unplugged it. Still didn't turn off. Now, here's the thing. Throughout this whole entire thing, I did not think I was asleep. I thought I was awake 100%. And for some reason, the fan not turning off was not of key interest to me of notifying me, hey, you're still asleep. So I get up to put my glasses on. They were already on my face. I take them off, and they were broken. Now, I didn't really mind too much about it, the glasses being on my face, because I would sometimes sleep with my glasses on. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I get out of bed and I head out to the living room and I hear my mom say to my dad, I know Christian found Mona and pooped right next to him. Now, this was confusing to me. I'm like, why in the world would my mom say that to my dad? And then, boom, I woke up again. I was like, okay, what is going on? I'm terrified now because I've woken up 3 times now. And throughout this whole entire thing, like I said, I thought I was asleep. I mean, awake, not asleep. I thought I was awake, not asleep. Got a little twisted there. So I look at my fan. Of course, it's on, and it's also plugged in. I'm like, please turn it off. So I slowly reach to the switch, and I flick it to the off position. It turns off. I was awake, finally. At least, I hope I was. Yeah, I still do think, I'm like, am I still awake? I have no clue. So, just like, okay, I'm awake. I'm just going to go for that. I'll just live my life after that. But it was still pretty terrifying. But now looking back, it's pretty funny and also pretty innocent. Now, the second one is innocent as well, but kind of also weird, but also little terrifying at the time, but now just innocent. I was a little girl, and I had 3 tall brothers who were vampires. Now, I was being tucked into bed, in a sense, and I saw all 3 of them just outside my door talking to me, saying goodnight. Now, I wasn't afraid of them, and they were tall. They had to lean over the door frame just to peek their heads in. And all I saw were their heads. Everything else was pitch black. I just saw their heads. And again, I wasn't terrified of them. They were my brothers. What terrified me was this little demon girl that I kept seeing every night, apparently. It's how my brain was convincing me of this. So after they said goodnight, I fall asleep. I turn into, I don't turn it. My kind of dreams turn into like a video game-like thing. I had like the health bar, the mental status, and, all that stuff that you'd see in a video game. Now, I had statuses, like, hunger, thirst, health, and mental status. Now, you know how they would have mental status and they would say scared, frightened, and terrified? Now, instead of having either frightened or terrified, I had scared for my mental status. I don't understand why it said scared. It sparked an idea for me and my sister to create a video game, kind of like past and future. Like, what you're a little girl, it'll say scared, or when you're a kid, it'll say scared, and when you're an adult, it'll say terrified. It was like a funny idea that we wanted to do. We never really went through it. I kind of want to do it one day. But yeah, it was terrifying but adorable at the same time. Now this next one is, which I've had a few of, zombie apocalypse actually, and I've had a few zombie apocalypse dreams. I'm like a zombie fan. I like playing zombie games. I like watching zombie movies. I like zombie stuff. Now, this one was, I was surviving with my sister and a bunch of group of people. I ended up getting separated for a little bit. I think my computer just crashed. Oh, nope, it lagged a little. Oh, I hope that picked that up. I don't know. But anyways, I ended up getting separated from my sister and the group. I got bit by a zombie. The only one I told was my sister. And she had a concerned look. She was concerned for me, because I was bitten by a zombie. And the thing, you get bit by a zombie, you're going to turn into a zombie, so you get a bullet in the head. I'm like, okay, what do we do here? She told me to go. She just said, go. I looked at her and said, and she's like, no, go. So I left. She didn't say anything to anyone. I left. Now, I didn't turn into a zombie. It was like weeks, months even, and I didn't turn into one. So I kept looking for my sister in the group. I never found her. And I kind of woke up after a while, after the vivid dream and whatnot. I woke up. I never found her. And to this day, I haven't found her in the dream. Which kind of bothers me a little. I'm like, ugh. I never had that vivid dream ever again, but I've had a few zombie apocalypse ones with me and my sister kind of surviving together. A few times I've been bitten, a few times that I haven't been bitten, This is a weird kind of thing. Now, another one, which is pretty innocent, that I've had multiple times, which is hilarious to me, that I've had these a few times. Dinosaur ones, because I also like dinosaurs, so I apparently have dinosaur dreams. Now, again, it's survival. We're of course, in a kind of like weird kind of setting, and it changes differently. For a few of them, it's a building where like a big warehouse, and we kind of run into it, and of course, again, my sister happens to always be in these survival situation ones. I don't know why, but we go into this big warehouse thing, and we're crossing a platform, and underneath the platform is lava. And I'm like, where's this lava coming from? And there's like dinosaurs outside, and there's this T-Rex that walks by the window all the time. It scares me, and it breaks through the window with its big gigantic head, and we're all panicking. We're running, and we're trying to get out, and every time we end up getting caught, like there's this raptor that would come around the corner, and every time it comes and jumps at us, I wake up. So I never really learned what happens after that. Now, there's another kind of dinosaur one that I had that had the scenery where I live. Now, there's this little black path that had houses down where I used to live. I kind of moved out. Now, we were being chased by raptors, and there was a T-Rex out in the distance, and we had to, again, me and my sister were, again, in a survival situation. We had to run into a house to bunker down from these raptors chasing us and that T-Rex. We saw did it crash again? No, it just stopped for a little bit. Sorry. Now, me and my sister were just kind of hiding out, and this T-Rex walks by the house. We can hear it, and we can feel the thud, like boom, 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 and all that stuff. And we're scared. Well, I'm scared. My sister, on the other hand, was more. She was scared, but she wasn't like as scared as I was. She has this kind of strong person about her. And, well, she wasn't that scared. She was trying to figure out how we could escape the raptors without getting seen by the T-Rex as well. She comes up with a plan, and I go with the plan because she's my sister, and she's smarter than me and also knows how to survive better. I think that's probably why I have her in most of these survival things. We go out the front door because the T-Rex and the raptors are also both on different sides, but the front door had no dinosaurs in the front of it. So I'm like, awesome. So we go to the door, and we quietly close it, and we book it to another house that's out across the street. The T-Rex spots us, but the raptors don't, and it starts coming our way, and we're just going in the door as fast as we can and closing it. This T-Rex had spotted us, but luckily for us, we closed the door in time, and this T-Rex can't get inside. I was wrong about that. Somehow, I have no idea, this T-Rex managed to get its big gigantic head through the door. I'm like, oh god, it gets stuck, so we had to go to another house. Eventually, I wake up from it. I don't exactly remember how I ended up waking up from it. It just ends up me popping up out of bed and be like, okay, dream's over. Now, I've had a few vivid dreams of the zombies and the dinosaur ones, but all those were pretty innocent. Now, I've gotten the innocent ones out. Now, these last ones, well, I guess there's one more innocent one that's not too scary. I was on my street, just kind of like walking around, and there's this tree, this old kind of tree that twisted around itself. It was just there. I mean, it was in the middle of the street. I'm like, where'd this come from? So I go up to the tree, and the weird thing about it is it didn't exist, but it existed. Because because someone asked me what I was doing, like holding my hand out in the middle of the street. And no one else saw it, but I did. I'm like, don't you see this tree? And they're like, no. And then I black out and I wake up. It was pretty short, but I don't understand what that tree was and what it was doing there. I've had that a couple of times, and it always ended up me blacking out and waking back up. Now the last ones are definitely, still to this day, pretty terrifying for me. Now this first one I'm going to mention because it's not as terrifying as the other ones. I've had this a few times in my life, about probably 50 to maybe even 100 times when I was little. It eventually went away, and I don't know why. Actually, all these dreams, the last ones that I mentioned, actually went away. One of them, though, I only had once. But it was this one I'm going to save for last because it was pretty terrifying. Now, I was sitting in my yard. I was wearing a white dress, and I was surrounded by white flowers. And I was just kind of just enjoying the scenery, the fresh air, the sounds. Something hits me in the back of the head. I'm not sure exactly what it was. I get knocked out, and when I wake up, everything's red and on fire. Everything is burning. People are running, scared. Animals are barking. And I don't know what impelled me to do this, but I ran / I kind of like sped walk to a park that was near my house. And as I was going, people were looking at me and saying, "This is your fault. This is your fault." And all the animals, like the dogs and the cats, they would like either hiss at me or bark and growl and all that stuff. And I couldn't understand why. I mean, how is this my fault? What did I do? I kept going, and I see a gigantic black hole sucking everything up, taking everything with it. I get sucked up as well. And when I look up, it's bright white, and there are people all around me, and they're grayed out. And they all are just constantly saying, "This is your fault, this is your fault." I don't know who these people are, but in the distance, I could hear just one voice calling out to me, saying my name, and asking me, begging me to come back. And constantly I kept hearing that, "Come back, come back, come back." And the hole kept getting smaller and smaller and smaller until it disappeared and it was pitch black. And then I'd wake up. I've had that dream a few times, and still to this day I never understood what it meant. Who was that person who kept asking me to come back? Why were they blaming me? I never understood that dream. But it eventually went away. Now the second one I had, which also went away. This one was, I was, again, outside, and I was just enjoying the sun, when this gigantic ball, this white ball, came out of nowhere. And it just, it started picking people up and taking it with them. I was the only one who didn't go. I looked around my entire street, everywhere, and I didn't see anyone. And somehow I knew there was no one else on the planet. I was left. I was all alone. I had no one. Everyone was taken. And that dream I had a few times, and that eventually went away as well. Again, I still don't know why. Why I had it and why it went away. Now another one, of course, I've had a few times. This one, me and my family went to stay at a big house, a mansion. It was like post spring, and it was still pretty cold out and whatnot, but almost about to become spring. So we were getting a tour of the place, and then the person who was giving us the tour of the mansion, we walked past the door, and I don't know who mentioned it, but someone in my family mentioned the door, and the person who was giving us the tour said, "Oh, that door's been locked. Don't ever go near the door either." So I'm like, okay, and this door was tied with a string, just a simple string, not a rope, not a lock, just a string. It was just tied with a string. So we keep going, and I keep looking at this door as we're going by, and I am compelled to go to it, but I don't because I keep going. And now nighttime comes along, and I'm awake, and I'm walking down the hallway. I don't see myself get out of bed. I'm just instantly walking down a hallway. And I end up at the door, this big door. And I hear on the other side a voice. Someone saying, "Please let me out, help me. I'm trapped in here. Can you let me out? Can you open the door?" and all that stuff. So I untie the string, and I crack the door open. And every time I crack that door open, I'm instantly teleported, falling from the sky during the daylight into a pond, a frozen pond, mind you. And I'm falling through the sky, and there's this frozen pond below me. Every time I hit that pond, I wake up. And I, again, to this day, do not understand what that dream meant. And, well, it also went away. And it never came back. And I don't understand why these 3 specific dreams I had kept reoccurring constantly. And then they just went away and never came back. Now this very last one that I only had told to one person, and that was my father. He thought it was me living a past life almost. I mean, not thinking that, but it almost sounded like it. Now, I just happened to have very weird dreams. Now this one, I was a little girl again, and I was at school. And now I can see things, like, how some people can only see their dreams in black and white, and some people can see their dreams in colors, and some can see them in colors and black and white. I'm one of those people. I can see them in color or black and white. This one happened to be in black and white. Now, even though it was in black and white, I knew what colors I was wearing. I was wearing a dark blue-ish dress. I mean, it was clearly blue, but it was pretty dark. It wasn't that bright dress, like that bright, and a white shirt. It was a school uniform, and I was just this little kid, and there were 15 other kids. This was a pretty small classroom. We were working on something. The teacher was teaching us something. I can't remember what we were teaching, and I start to hear these loud sounds, almost like sirens, like very loud sirens, like terrifying. It was terrifying, I mean, and the teacher stops the lesson and looks out the window, and you can hear this loud bang and a flash of light. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of men with guns came through the door and started shouting, saying, get everyone out, let's go. And I was just a kid. I was terrified. I didn't know what was going on. So we're getting out of the school now. We're leaving when more guys came with guns and started shooting. Like it was bang, bang, bang. All these things were going around, and I ran before before they ended up hitting me. So I ran out the other side, and I kept running. And these gigantic machines, which for me, as I know, were tanks, but this little girl, who I was, didn't know they were tanks. And there were loud sounds constantly all around me, the sirens and all that stuff. And I was running. I was scared. And these tanks were going everywhere, and they were shooting and smoke, and it was terrifying. And I don't remember where I was heading to, but I was heading somewhere, and I was crying and all that stuff when I heard a loud bang and then a flash of light in front of me, and then I wake up. It was, I even woke up crying. I had tears. I was upset, terrified. What I could have thought of, what I saw last, that loud bang and then a flash of light, was probably a bomb. And that little girl didn't survive. Now, it was sad. It was very sad. I never had that dream ever again. It only happened once, and it just never came. And I hope it was not a past life that I lived. I hope it was just a really weird, messed up, vivid dream that I had. Because there's no way I would want to ever, ever, ever want anyone to experience that in real life. And if it was a past life, that really does kind of suck. It really does. Well, this was a very long one, and I paused in a lot of it because I do that sometimes. I want to sign off here, and thank you for listening. If any of you out there remember any vivid dreams you've had, let me know in the comments. I'd like to know. Everyone has them, and a lot of us can remember them. A lot of us can't remember all of them. But I'm interested in what kind of vivid dreams you guys have. You know, are they terrifying? Are they fun? Are they hilarious? Are they weird like mine? Who knows? But let me know. I'd like to know. Alright, I'm going to sign off here. See ya!